parents gifted my sister the house, met with applause. I asked regarding that October 31st foreclosure notice. The room instantly froze. My parents stood there, beaming, announcing they were giving my sister the house. The entire family erupted in cheers, clapping and celebrating. That's when I calmly asked, should I read the foreclosure notice dated October 31st? The silence that followed was deafening, cold, and utterly terrifying. You see, I'm Ethan. I'm 30, an environmental compliance inspector, and I work on major construction projects. My job isn't glamorous on paper, but I'm the guy who can halt a $25 million project with just one signature. I live in Chicago now, and I've always kept my family at arm's length. My parents were notorious for playing favorites, and I was never the chosen one. My sister, Claire, was. I carved out my own life, maintained my distance, and did my best to stay out of their mess. But this Thanksgiving, they decided to make it my problem. It all started about 4 weeks before Thanksgiving. I was knee-deep in reviewing soil samples from a highway expansion project. Dirt under my nails, a headache from my dust mask. Then my phone rang. It was Mom. "Honey," she started, and my stomach immediately sank. She only used that honey voice when she wanted something or needed me to keep my mouth shut about something. "What is up, Mom?" I asked, already bracing myself. "I just want to make sure you're still coming to Thanksgiving," she chirped, "and that you'll be nice." I paused, setting down a sample bag. "Nice about what?" "Your sister has great news to share. We're all extremely excited for her. I just don't want you to make it about yourself or start anything." There it was. I was the problem before I even walked through the door. I hadn't even planned to start anything. "Good," she continued, "because this is an important moment for Claire and the entire family. We want things to be perfect." Claire, my younger sister, was 27. She still lived at home in our small town of Neatville. Worked as a receptionist at a dental clinic, making about $41,000 a year. She drove the car Dad bought her, used Mom's paid-off credit card, and had never, not once, paid rent in her entire life. "I will be there," I told Mom, my voice flat. "And you'll be glad for her." She didn't believe me. I could hear it in the silence on the line, but she let it go. She didn't have a choice. I hung up and just stared at my phone. This pattern, this insidious favoritism, had persisted for 30 years. Claire was praised for simply existing, while I was interrogated for it. I remember when I was 24, drowning in student loans. I asked Dad for $6,000. He flat out said no, told me I needed to learn the value of hard work. 18 months later, Claire decided she wanted to travel Europe. 4 weeks, $9,500. Dad paid for the entire thing. If I didn't make a joke about it, I would just shake with suppressed anger. My boss, Mitchell, poked his head into my office. He's 58, been doing this work for 30 years, seen every kind of family drama imaginable. "You appear to have just received bad news," he observed. "Things related to the family," I confirmed. He just nodded. He didn't press, and that's why I liked him. "Are you going home for the holidays?" he asked. "Yeah," I sighed. "We need to talk about it." "Nah, I'm fine." I quickly corrected myself. He looked at me for a long moment. "You're one of the most composed individuals I've ever worked with, Ethan. Whatever it is, you will handle it correctly." I appreciated that more than he'll ever know. That night, I went back to my Lakeview apartment and opened my files. Not work files, but the other ones. I'd been building them since September. It started with a phone call. It was September 23rd, 10:15 a.m. I was on a job site near Joliet, about to crawl under a house to check foundation drains. "Son," Dad said, "I need to speak with you about something important." My stomach plummeted. Someone died? Someone sick? Something truly wrong? "It's Mom," he continued. "She underwent surgery back in June. Insurance didn't cover everything. We're looking at around $24,500 in medical bills." I didn't hesitate. "I can help. How much do you need?" Is that all? Yes, $24,500. Could you wire it this week? Something felt off. Mom had surgery in June. It was September. Why wait 2 months to ask? I pushed the feeling down. They were my parents. Let me call the hospital, I said. I'll arrange a payment plan directly with them. Silence. Long, heavy silence. We'd prefer cash. We will handle the hospital. That's when I knew. Dad, if there are medical bills, I will pay the hospital, not you. His voice immediately changed, becoming defensive. We don't need you to question us. We need assistance. Then allow me to assist properly. Which hospital? He hung up. I sat in my truck for 12 minutes, just staring at the steering wheel. Then I made a few calls. The 4 major hospitals in their area. I inquired about any outstanding balances in my parents' names matching the amount Dad claimed. Nothing. No $24,500 bills in collection or waiting to be paid. So I dug deeper. I obtained property records for their house. Cost me $75. And that's when my world tilted. Second mortgage. $98,000, 5 months overdue. First mortgage. $59,000 balance, 3 months late. My throat tightened. My hand shook as I sat there, staring at the printout. My father had lied about Mom's surgery. Lied to get money. He lied because he knew if I found out the truth, I would blow the whistle. I took everything I could legally get my hands on. Loan documents from the county recorder. Marina records. Dad had purchased a 36-foot cabin cruiser. $85,000. A boat. He risked his house for a boat. Claire then made a big announcement on social media 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, using house emojis. They were going to capture her, I thought grimly. I started making copies of everything. I'd been carrying that folder ever since. Thanksgiving morning, I hit the road by 8 a.m. Traffic out of the city was a beast. The family group chat was already buzzing. Claire, can't wait for everyone to arrive. Today is going to be very special. Mom, Ethan, what time will you be here? I replied, approximately 2 o'clock. Mom, perfect. Claire's announcement is at 2:30. A performance has been scheduled and choreographed. I arrived at their driveway at 1:58. Aunt Laura's Mercedes was there. Uncle Mark's pickup. My cousin Emily's Honda. Ryan's parents' SUV. At least 17 cars. The folder was on the passenger seat. I grabbed it, locked the truck, and walked to the front door. Claire opened it before I even knocked. She was dressed in a white sweater dress, hair curled, makeup flawless. She looked like she was going to a cocktail party, not a family dinner. You made it, she stated, not warm, just observational. She stepped aside. We stopped hugging years ago. The house was packed. People everywhere. Football on TV. Kids running wild. That dreaded green bean casserole on the counter. Dad was in the living room with Claire's boyfriend, Ryan. Ryan sold insurance, made about $60,000 a year, drove a leased BMW he couldn't afford, and wore cologne that smelled like a high school locker room. Ethan. Dad got up, came over, did the hug-back slap thing. Good to see you, son. His eyes were on mine, scrutinizing, trying to figure out if I was going to be a problem. I smiled, gave him nothing. Grandma was in her corner chair, 86 years old and sharper than anyone else in the room. She watched me walk in, gave me a slight nod. She knew something was coming. I could see it on her face. I found a spot at the dining room table, placed the folder on the floor next to my chair, and sat down. People slowly filed in, making small talk. Someone asked about the game. Someone else complained about gas prices. Aunt Laura discussed her book club drama. Uncle Mark was explaining his new truck's towing capacity. Claire sat at the head of the table, the place of honor. Mom to her right, Dad to her left. Ryan stood next to Dad, looking nervous. There was another person at the table I didn't recognize, an older woman with a professional appearance. A briefcase sat next to her chair. Who is that? I quietly asked Emily, who was next to me. No idea, she whispered back. She arrived right before you. I was across from Claire, direct line of sight. She caught my eye and smiled. Not a pleasant smile. A winning smile. Dad stood up, tapped his fork against a wine glass. Chairs squeaked. Before we eat, he began, I'd like to say a few words about family, gratitude, and the blessings we've received this year. Standard speech, the same every year. We are especially grateful to have everyone here today, and we've got some very exciting news to share. He looked at Claire. Claire stood up. Ryan stood next to her, but she was the real star. The entire room watched. Some people had their phones out, recording. Ryan's mother smiled, too much, clearly performing for the camera. Claire began speaking, her voice shaking slightly. It's difficult to say whether I'm excited or nervous. Mom and Dad are giving us their house. The room erupted. Applause, cheers. Someone whistled. Aunt Laura was crying. My cousins were all smiling, raising their glasses as Uncle Mark shouted, "Congratulations!" "We'll take over the existing loans," Claire continued, her voice growing louder over the noise, "which Dad says are in excellent condition, and begin building equity. No more renting." More cheering, more phones emerging. Dad stood, raising a hand. "And because the lender requires signatures to complete the transfer and new loan terms, we've hired a mobile closing agent. We're going to handle the paperwork right here and now." The woman at the end of the table stood up, opened her briefcase, and took out a stack of papers. "This is Patricia," Dad explained. "She does after-hours mobile signings. She is here to oversee the signing and notarization of the documents. Claire, sweetheart, come down here so we can get started." Claire was glowing. She began walking to the end of the table. Ryan was filming with his phone. "This is amazing. This is actually happening." My chest tightened. My jaw didn't stop twitching. This was it. They were going to do it right here, right now. Claire then looked directly at me. The room was still noisy, but she stayed focused. "Unlike some people," she said, "who leave and only return home twice a year, I have always been here. I help with the yard. I run errands. I show up. And I believe action should be rewarded." Someone laughed, then immediately regretted it. People were looking at me, waiting for my response. My cousin Emily leaned into her boyfriend and whispered something. He looked at me and smiled. Uncle Mark raised his glass. To the daughter who remained. To Claire. The room echoed. To Claire. Aunt Laura set down her wine glass and gave me a pitying look. "You're not upset?" "I mean, your sister will receive the entire inheritance. Should I be?" I asked. She glanced at Claire. I just think some people might be hurt." "He's fine." Claire snapped, her voice sharp. "He doesn't need anything from us. He has a big Chicago life." My cousin Tyler spoke up from the corner. "That's cold, dude. You drove for nearly an hour to watch your sister get everything." "Tyler, do not start," someone said. "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Guy moves away, barely visits, and now he's supposed to smile while she gets the house." I took a sip of water, carefully placed the glass down, and said nothing. Uncle Mark leaned back in his chair. "Chicago made you cold, Ethan. You used to be part of this family." "I am a member of this family," I corrected him calmly. "Ryu." Claire cut in. "Because you think you're better than the rest of us. As if your current situation is insufficient." Someone's younger cousin, maybe 16, leaned across the table holding his phone. "Get his reaction," he urged. "This is gold." I didn't move, didn't blink. I looked straight at his camera. "Make sure you understand my positive side," I said. "It's the only one that appears here." Uncle Mark laughed. Sharp. I mean, look at him. Ice cold. Nothing bothers the big city guy. A younger cousin mumbled, "Could we just eat? This is awkward." "It's not awkward," Claire explained. "Ethan is simply being Ethan," Mom said quickly, her voice tight. "Ethan understands. He has always been the strong one." Aunt Laura looked at me strangely now. But Robert, this seems like a lot to give to a single child. Claire earned it. Dad insisted firmly. She stayed. Ethan made his decisions. Claire demanded, say congratulations like you mean it. Don't just sit there judging us. The phone kept recording, a small red dot glowing. Smile, Ethan, Mom said, her sweet voice laced with steel. Claire remained standing, papers in the closing agent's hand, pen ready. I set down my glass. That's very generous. Congratulations. Claire blinked. Smile as if you mean it. I am smiling, I replied, my voice steady. This is simply my expression as I watch a train crash into a wall. Aunt Laura touched my arm. Are you really okay with this? Should I be upset? I asked. I mean, it's also your family home. Claire snapped. He left it. You don't have the right to leave and complain when someone else takes what you left behind. Tyler grumbled. That's harsh. It's true. Claire insisted. He's too good for Neatville. Too good for family dinners. Too good for Sunday visits. Actions have consequences. I didn't leave. I received the reward. The closing agent cleared her throat. To be clear, these signature lines establish you as new borrowers on the loans. If we're going to do this, let's get started. Dad nodded, gesturing toward Claire. Claire took a step towards the agent. I looked at Dad. He was pale, white knuckles gripping his chair. Hey, Dad, I said, we can do this privately. Walk with me. He was frozen. No. Claire replied immediately. We're doing this right in front of everyone. You don't get to take him aside and poison it. Mom's face became tight. Ethan, please don't ruin this. I offered to not ruin it privately, I pointed out. There's nothing to discuss. Dad said, his voice shaking. Claire walked back toward the closing agent. Simply ignore him. He's trying to make this about himself, as he always does. Last chance, I said quietly. For what? Claire snapped. So what could you possibly say? I reached down and picked up the folder. Okay then, let's do it here. Dad's face utterly drained. Every drop of color was gone. Mom's hand began shaking so violently she had to put down her wine glass. Ethan, Dad said, his voice strangled. Not now. Not now. I questioned. When would be better? After she signs. What signs? Ryan asked, confused. I pulled out the first document, a foreclosure notice, large red letters, the case number printed at the top. I placed it in the center of the table, directly on the turkey platter. The notice of default, I stated, filed on October 31st. There have been 5 months of missed payments on the second mortgage. 3 months for the first. Claire stared at the document. What's that? I took out another page. The actual foreclosure filing timeline amounts to a void foreclosure. The bank requests a reinstatement payment of $29,000 by mid-December. Following that, the combined monthly payment is approximately $3,100. That's before utilities, property taxes, insurance, and repairs. That is not true. Mom started. Call the bank, I challenged. Ask what is required to reinstate the loan at this address. Or look up the foreclosure filing. The case number is right at the top. This is a public record. Nobody moved. The closing agent, Patricia, was already packing her briefcase. She stood up. I cannot proceed while the parties are arguing the terms and there is visible coercion. If you want to proceed, reschedule with the lender. She walked out quickly. I looked around the table at everyone's faces. The phone was still recording. So here's my question, I said. Do you want the truth or a performance? Someone's phone kept recording, the little red dot glowing. I can walk out, let you sign, and let you know when the reinstatement deadline arrives. But you can't come up with $29,000, or I'll tell you now. Claire was moving toward me. You're lying because you can't stand how happy I am. She was standing over me, pointing. Her voice was loud, filled with rage, and she slammed her hand on the table. Silverware jumped, knocking over a wine glass. Red wine splattered across the white tablecloth, bleeding into the corner of my paperwork. I took the folder back. "Sit down," I said flatly, quietly. Something in my voice must have changed, because she stopped talking. She remained standing, but didn't move closer. I took out more papers. The recorded mortgage document, the tax lien notice, and my own text messages to Dad. "You're not giving her the house free and clear," I said. "You're only giving her debt. Mortgage and escrow? Approximately $36,000 per year, not including what breaks, not including what the county has already filed liens for." Aunt Laura picked up one of the papers, read it with wide eyes. "Robert, this is real. Where did you get this?" "The county recorder's office," I replied, my voice calm. "Public records. $75. Ryan was backing away, his face pale. "Wait, Claire, you mentioned that the loans were current and manageable. You did not mention anything about default or reinstatement." "They are current." Claire stammered, looking at Dad. "Right. You mentioned that the loans were in great shape," Ryan continued. "You said we only needed to sign the transfer." Dad couldn't speak. Uncle Mark picked up the foreclosure notice, his face hardening. "This means they're months behind. Final notice." "That cannot be right," Mom whispered. "It is dated October 31st. "Claire earns $41,000, I explained. "Ryan's salary is $60,000. Total take-home pay, maybe $74,000. You would spend half of your income just to keep the house. There's nothing left for a wedding, savings, or emergencies." Emily's mouth was open. They planned to trick her. "They were going to trap her," I confirmed. Ryan's face was red with fury. "You told me the house was in good condition. You stated that we would be building equity, not digging out of a foreclosure." "We thought we'd catch up," Dad said weakly. "Based on what?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "What has changed? What made you suddenly believe you could handle debt that you had been defaulting on for months?" Silence. Ryan was grabbing his coat. "I'm out. I am done with this." "Ryan, please wait." Claire chased him to the door, her heels clicking on the hardwood. "Baby, please. We can figure it out. We can." The front door slammed. His parents followed him out, their voices rising in the driveway. Claire returned 40 seconds later, mascara running, lipstick smudged. "You did it. You've ruined everything." "I didn't ruin anything," I explained. I read it aloud. "They needed help," she cried. "You should have helped them." "I tried," I said. "They refused." Ryan's parents walked back in, his mother's face hard as stone. "He will not speak to us. He says he needs space." She turned to face Mom and Dad. "Were you going to do this to our son?" "We assumed they'd figure it out," Mom said weakly. "How do you calculate foreclosure and marital debt?" Grandma spoke for the first time, her voice cutting through the chaos. "What exactly do you mean when you say they refused?" Everyone stopped and looked at me. I pulled out my phone, opened the call log. On September 23rd, Dad called and told me that Mom had surgery, $24,500 in medical bills. They asked me to wire the money. I showed the screen to those nearby. Date, time, duration of call. I immediately agreed. I said I'd call the hospital and arrange a payment plan. He said no. They wanted cash. That's when I realized something was wrong. I looked at Mom. I called the hospitals, asked if there were any outstanding balances in my parents' names that matched what Dad claimed. Nobody had bills like those. Nothing recent that fits. Mom's face wrinkled in disbelief. That's when I pulled the property records, discovered the mortgages, missed payments, and the foreclosure timeline. Claire burst out. "You should have given him the money anyway. What will you spend it on?" "Additional boat maintenance." Uncle Mark's head snapped up. "Boat?" I took out another document. Boat registration at the marina. 36-foot cabin cruiser. March 2021. $85,000. The room became nuclear. Uncle Mark stood yelling. Aunt Laura cried out. Emily shook her head. You purchased a boat. Uncle Mark's voice was powerful enough to strip paint. We thought we could afford it, Dad whispered. Grandma stood. Her chair scraped. Everyone became quiet. How long have you been hiding this? Dad finally admitted. It had been 18 months. Instead of asking for help, you chose to lie to your children, Grandma said, her voice laced with disappointment. We were desperate. Mom protested. Emily chimed in. She was desperate enough to lie on loan documents. If they misrepresented the transfer to the lender, that constitutes fraud. You tried this on Ethan first, didn't you? Aunt Laura inquired, looking at me. I nodded. On May 11th, I was asked to co-sign. They called it a refinance, just a formality. Have you signed? Uncle Mark asked anxiously. Almost, I replied. I told them I wanted my lawyer to review it first. I took out another document. I received an email from my lawyer. Subject, don't sign. She told me that if I signed, I would be legally responsible for $155,000. That's when I began digging. Claire turned to me, her face a mask of fury. This is entirely your fault. I am not ruining anything, I stated. I'm reading it aloud. You were never the important one, she hissed with pure venom. You were never good enough, and you can't accept that I finally won. The room became silent. That was the line, the one you do not return from. My hands clenched into fists beneath the table. Hold it. Simply hold it. Emily's jaw dropped. Aunt Laura appeared horrified. I simply looked at Claire. Did not react. Noted, I said quietly. The argument restarted, this time louder. Phones out, snapping pictures. I stood up. Claire looked at me, her face a complete mess. How long have you known? Since September. Why haven't you told me? She demanded. I tried 3 times, I replied. You were always with them. They made certain I couldn't get you alone. You could have tried harder. I'm trying now. She laughed, a harsh, broken sound. By humiliating me and keeping you from signing away your life. I grabbed my coat. You are welcome. Grandmother stood up. Her chair scraped. Everyone became quiet again. Robert, please give me the boat keys. Dad blinked. What? I am currently in possession of the boat keys. You are not paying slip fees for another month while my grandchildren are on the verge of debt. Now, keys. Now. Or I'll call the marina and have it impounded. Dad fumbled in his pocket, pulled out a keychain and handed it to her. She pocketed it, then took out her phone and began dialing. Who are you calling? Mom asked, her voice small. Why, lawyer, Grandma stated firmly. We are changing my estate plan tonight. Everything is split equally between Ethan and Claire. You won't get anything until you've proven you're trustworthy. She took the phone to her ear and walked into the other room. Uncle Mark spoke up. That boat will be listed tomorrow. I know a guy who does marine sales. We will get whatever we can out of it. You can't, Dad began. Pay attention to me, I said, walking towards the door. Aunt Laura stopped me, placing a hand on my arm. Most of us witnessed it. How they treated you differently from Claire. We didn't say anything. I apologize for that. I nodded. I didn't know what else to do with that information. You did the right thing, she said quietly. It doesn't feel like it. It never does. I walked out. I didn't look back. My phone lit up before I got to my truck. Emily sent a text. Aunt Laura called the cops. Thinks there may be elder abuse or fraud. This is going to get bigger. I sat there for 12 minutes, just breathing and looking at the house through the windshield. Then I started the car and headed back to Chicago. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I received a call from Detective Reynolds of DuPage County. We met in a coffee shop. She was in her mid-40s, professional. She took notes in an actual notebook. Thank you for meeting, she said. Not a problem. You are not in trouble. We are looking into your parents. There may be issues with loan misrepresentation. I walked her through everything. The September call, the timeline, the documents. She took notes, flipping through the pages, her eyebrows raising. Your parents claim you managed their finances and advised them on the property transfer. I pulled out my phone and showed her the texts. This is where he asked for money. I offered to pay the hospital. He refused. That is it. I never accessed their accounts. She took a photograph of the screen. So, they appear to be shifting liability. Do you have evidence that you were not involved? 3 years of no contact with their bank. No joint accounts, no power of attorney, and my lawyer's documentation from when they attempted to get me to co-sign in May. She flipped back through her notes. Your sister mentioned that they pushed hard for a spring wedding. April, specifically. They scheduled the date before Ryan proposed. Mom chose the venue. April would have been 7 months after the property transfer, I explained, exactly when payments were due. If your sister and fiancé were married and lived there, they would expect his income to cover the costs without telling him what he was getting into. This is the fraud angle we're looking at, she confirmed. If the borrowers or lender falsified occupancy or intent, they would be making a misrepresentation to both parties. What do you need from me? If it goes to court, the testimony will be truthful, which is unlikely. Most of these settle. I will tell the truth, I said. That is all I have been doing. She closed the notebook. You rescued your sister from years of financial ruin. Most people do not have anyone willing to blow up Thanksgiving to protect them. I just read the paperwork, I clarified. She smiled at that. I will be in touch. 4 days later, Dad arrived at my office. Mitchell summoned me in. Your father says there is a family emergency. Dad was there looking tiny defeated. We need to talk. Mitchell was studying the room. Take the day if you need it. I'm good, I told him. This will happen quickly. We went outside. The wind was cold. This needs to be fixed, Dad pleaded. The detective is taking documents. They're claiming fraud. That is not my problem. We are family. You do not do this to your family. You attempted to trap your daughter in debt she could not afford, I countered. What would you call that? We were desperate. Then you should have asked for assistance. Honestly. He grabbed my arm. You can make this go away. Tell them there was a misunderstanding. I looked at his hand on my arm, then back at his face. He let go. I am not lying for you, I said firmly. Whatever happens right now is what you earned. She's falling apart. Your sister is not eating, sleeping, or taking medication. Because she nearly signed away her life, I said, or because Ryan left. Both. Then she should thank me. Ethan, please stop contacting my workplace, I told him. Stop showing up here. If you need anything, text me. I'll decide whether to respond. I walked back inside. Mitchell was waiting. You okay? Yeah. Things related to the family. He nodded. You handled it well. By mid-December, the foreclosure was underway. Claire texted me. I met with a therapist. She claims I was conditioned to accept manipulation, that I confused favoritism for love. It's better to figure it out now than never. Then, can we talk when you're ready? Christmas. I did not go home. Emily shared a photo from Grandma's. Small dinner. Caption, new tradition. You've been invited for next year. Grandma called that night. Claire is staying with me. Therapy is helping. Your parents declared bankruptcy. Tell her I'll be here when she's ready. February. Dad sent angry texts. I sent one back. Stop contacting my workplace. Further contact will be recorded as harassment. Then I blocked his number. Mitchell informed me that I was up for a promotion in April. Life moved forward. February 12th. Claire texted, can we meet? Coffee. We met in Neatville. She got there first. Looked better, healthier. Hey, she said. Hey. There was awkward silence. I am sorry about Thanksgiving, she began, for what I said, for believing them instead of you. You didn't know. I should have questioned it. I wanted the fantasy so bad. How are you today? Better. Living with Grandma. Figuring out who I am beyond being Dad's favorite. She laughed, a genuine, sad laugh. It turns out that being the favorite equals being the most useful. Noah, I've started seeing someone. He is a paramedic. I told him everything. He did not run. That is good. I miss having a brother. I'm still your brother. She began crying. I do not deserve that. Probably not, I admitted, but you'll get it anyway. We talked for an hour about favoritism, the patterns, how I was expected to handle things while she received protection. They have been paying my car payment for a year, she confided. I didn't know that specifically, but it does track, I said. I thought I deserved it, she admitted. It turned out I was just easier to control. They were unable to control me. That's why they went after you. Do you despise them? No, but I don't trust them. And I don't owe them my destruction. Grandma is changing her will. We'll split everything equally between us. Dad receives nothing until he proves his trustworthiness. Good. We left. Stood in the parking lot. A cold February wind. May I hug you? She asked. Yeah. She hugged me tightly. Thank you for saving me, even if I despised you for it. You are welcome. Can we try this again? Yeah. Call me at any time. April brought the promotion. Mitchell summoned me in. Senior inspector, he said, receives a 14% raise. You've earned it. Thanks. You've changed this year. More focused. It's obvious what you've been going through. Spring arrived. I was working on a project in Oak Park when my mother called. Ethan, her voice was tiny. We need to talk about your father, and I've been in counseling. We'd like to apologize. A real apology. Okay. Can we see you face to face? Why? We owe you that. Because we were wrong. I thought about it. I will think about it. Please. Your father looks different now. I will think about it. I hung up. That night I called Grandma. Mom wants to meet. They say they've been in counseling. Yes, they have. I have been paying for it. Condition of assisting them. Do you believe they have changed? A long pause. I believe they're scared. Not the same as changed. Should I meet with them? It's your decision. But if you do, make sure they earn it. Thank you, Grandma. I did not meet with them. Did not respond to Mom's texts. I maintained the boundary. May 22nd, 7 months following Thanksgiving. Claire sent a text. This weekend, we're having family dinner at Grandma's. She wants everyone present, including you. Including them. Says it's time. I am not interested, I texted back. Claire I knew, but Grandma inquired, and she's 86. For her, I will think about it. For days later, I'll come, but I'll leave if things don't work out. Claire, fair. Saturday afternoon. Grandmother's house. I was the last to arrive. I parked and sat for a moment, wondering if it was worth it. Then I got out. Grandmother opened the door. You arrived, she said, her eyes warm. Thank you. She hugged me. Keep an open mind, but do not accept any garbage. I walked inside. The living room was set up like a mediation. Grandma's chair at the head. Claire was sitting with Noah. Emily was next to her boyfriend. Uncle Mark and Aunt Laura on one couch. And Mom and Dad on the love seat, looking smaller, older. Dad had lost weight. They looked up as I walked in. Dad began to stand. Sit down, Grandmother said, not loud but firm. He sat. I chose the chair farthest from them. Grandma sat next to Claire. We're here because this family is broken. Broken items are either repaired or thrown away. I'm too old to abandon my family, so we're fixing it. Nobody spoke. Robert, Susan, you have something to say. Say them. Dad cleared his throat, his voice shaky. Ethan, we owe you an apology. A real one. I waited. We tried to use you, but you wouldn't let us. We attempted to use your sister. We transfer our problems to our children. That was incorrect. Mom cried. We were drowning. Debt, house, and boat. Rather than asking for assistance, we attempted to manipulate you both. We've been in counseling for 7 months, Dad explained, working out why. The stress, shame, and fear of admitting failure. We filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 13. Everything is gone. We are starting over with nothing, and that is what we deserved. Mom added, You did not do this to us. We did it to ourselves. Silence. Grandma looked at me. Do you have anything to say? I took a breath. You did not just try to use me. You tried to destroy me. And when I refused, you moved on to Claire. You would have let her drown to avoid the consequences. Dad said, crying. You called my job, showed up at my workplace, tried to frame me as unstable, made me the villain for telling the truth. I know, Dad admitted. So no, I continued. I do not accept your apology. Not yet. Mom's face wrinkled. What do we need to do? Prove it through your actions. Make amends. Create something real. How long? Dad asked weakly. However long it takes. I do not owe you a timetable. Claire spoke up. They've tried therapy, being open about favoritism, using me and treating you as expendable. That does not undo what they did. No, I agreed. But it is a start. I looked at my parents, really looked at them. They were broken, not performing, just broken. You wanted the image more than your children. Now you don't have either. So what are you planning to do? Mom wiped her eyes. Whatever it takes, no matter how long. We simply want our children back. You cannot have us back the way we were, I told them. That is no longer viable. But perhaps you can try something new. Grandma spoke. I've altered my will. Everything is split evenly between Ethan and Claire. Nothing goes to Robert until he proves he is trustworthy. Dad did not argue, simply nodded. And if Ethan says he is leaving, no one follows him. Nobody argues. Nobody guilt trips him. Anyone who violates that has to answer to me. Dad spoke quietly. I stood up. I am leaving now. This was sufficient. Claire also stood. Can I walk you out? Yeah. We walked to the door and stepped out. The evening air was warm. Thank you for coming, she said. This is for Grandma, not them. I understand, but still it mattered. Are you okay getting there? Noah has been good to me. Therapy is helping. I'm discovering who I am when I'm not performing. Good. Are we all right? We are getting there. She hugged me. I love you, even though I despised you. I loved you, I said. I love you too. I walked to my truck, got inside, and sat for a minute. My phone vibrated. Dad sent a text. Thank you for listening. I know I do not deserve it. I'll spend the rest of my life regaining your trust, if that's even possible. I read it, did not respond, put down the phone, started the car, and drove home. 7 months ago, I blew up my family to save my sister. Today, I sat in a room filled with wreckage. The truth did not solve everything, but it cleared the way. I pulled into my parking spot and walked up to my apartment, a small 1-bedroom. Nothing fancy but mine. Inside, I poured a drink, sat on the couch, and my phone buzzed. Claire, Noah would like to meet you officially. Have dinner sometime. Yeah, name the day. Claire, we're thinking Lincoln Park. Next Friday. It works for me. I put the phone down. Tomorrow, I had a site inspection in Evanston. Following that, dinner with Claire and Noah. Nearly 2 years later, I was celebrating Grandma's 88th birthday. A small gathering. Claire and Noah. Emily with her boyfriend, Uncle Mark, and Aunt Laura. Claire seemed different now, sharper and more grounded. She moved out of Grandma's house in June, got her own apartment in Downers Grove, paid her own bills, and lived her own life. You look good, I told her. Feel good, she beamed. Noah and I are talking about getting engaged. This time, actual planning will take place, rather than following someone else's timeline. That is good. Dad reached out last week and asked if we could meet. What have you said? Perhaps someday when I'm ready. She stared at me. You're the same. We were not repaired, but we were not broken in the same way. Mom and Dad were staying in a rental in Plainfield. Dad worked in a hardware store. Mom did bookkeeping for a church. They were slowly rebuilding without the boat and without the lies. Grandma called us to the table. Cake time! My phone buzzed while we were singing. Unknown number. I ignored it. After cake, I checked. Dad had left a voicemail. Ethan, I just wanted to say happy birthday to your grandmother. I know we aren't invited. That is fair. I just wanted you to know that we are thinking about you both and the family. We are working on it. That is all. I hope you're doing well. I saved it. I did not delete. Did not respond. Perhaps someday. Not today. I took my phone and walked back inside. Claire was laughing at something Noah had said. Grandma was cutting second slices for anyone who requested them. This is right here. This was sufficient. I took another slice of cake and sat down. Forward, not backward.